There you go. Who wants a sign? There you go. How about you? Have a sign.
Congressional District, Joe Nara. Joe?
Thank you, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here this afternoon and to share this platform with Governor Rhodes and with Governor Reagan, who I fully expect will be the next President of the United States. Too long ago, under the Carter administration, you had to be General Motors to get 20% interest. And I think that the people of this country are going to recognize that the Congress and the administration that have gotten us into these problems are not the people to get us out of them. That we need a change in Washington in January of 1981, and the way to do that is to elect a Republican administration and a Republican Congress. It has been my privilege over the last several months to be with Governor Reagan on several occasions. I have heard him talk to various groups, and I have heard him move among groups and express his opinions. It is my firm belief that he knows the people of this country, he understands their problems, support, and to give him a Republican Congress in 1981 that he can work with. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Joe. Now I'd like to present to you the state representative from the 3rd House District here in Cuyahoga County, candidate for the United States Senate, the Honorable Jim Betts. Jim?
Thank you. Thank you, and why it is that this administration and this Congress is both unwilling and unable to bring its financial house into order. I've seen the anger of Ohioans, and I've heard that anger expressed as they watch those people in Washington to continue their policies of tax and tax, spend and spend, regulate and regulate, to the point where they just don't know how to solve the problem that they themselves have done so well to create. I've seen...
Thank you very much, Jim.
Provide you the kinds of service and the kinds of response you need. They need your commitment for 1980 to be sure that they have that opportunity to serve you as they would like to do. And I would like, in the following order, to introduce the following candidates, to have them stand and acknowledge Donald J. O'Connor. State Senator candidate from the 22nd District on the East Side, Ben M. Skall. Candidate for State Senate from the 24th District on the... From the 10th House District, Gloria A. Wise. I'd like to also acknowledge... And now we have our judicial candidates. Judge... It's my understanding also that we have other men and women here who have been serving you through the Republican Party here in Cuyahoga County. Many of them in public office, many of them privately working as volunteers on your behalf. I'd like each of those people here on the platform.
Ladies and gentlemen, escorted by the Governor of the State of Ohio, James A. Rhodes, the next President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, and his wife, Nancy.
Shall we pray? Dear God,
to 4 terms, longer than anyone else, as the governor of the state of this great state of Ohio. He also happens to be the best governor this state has ever had, the Honorable James A. Rhodes.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Bob, and distinguished guests. There's no need leadership and faith to the American people. I have known him for many a year. As governor of the great state of California, he established a record of success that serves as a stark contrast to the failures of the present administration. America and his working people and her working people need this man now, right now. We will restore hope. We will restore joy, and he will restore faith in government to the American people. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce to you the next President of these United States, Ronald Reagan.
thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Guess I gotta wait. I can't sing. Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend clergy, Governor Jim Rhodes, and the distinguished guests who are here on the platform, and you ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't seem as it was very long since I was back here before, and I'm delighted to be here again, and particularly because of what has happened in the period in between. As your governor has just told you so eloquently, there have been great changes. All across this land, since I was here last, I found a longing among our people for hope, a longing for belief in ourselves and in the vision that gave birth to this nation, for the values of family, work, neighborhood, peace, and freedom. And when you have said those words, you said what this campaign is all about. This election concerns what has been already done to the American people and what would continue if we're given 4 more years of disaster. The Carter record is a record of a litany of despair, of broken promises, of sacred trusts abandoned and forgotten. 8 million out of work. Inflation running at 18% in the first quarter of 1980. Black unemployment nationwide at about 14%, higher than in any single year since separate statistics were kept. 4 straight major deficits run up by Carter and his friends in Congress, and the highest interest rate since the Civil War, reaching at times close to 20%. Productivity falling for 6 straight quarters, among the most productive people in history. We were promised that there wouldn't be an increase in taxes for the lower or the middle class, the working people of America. We have had imposed on the American families the largest single tax increase in our nation's history. He tries to tell us that we're only in a recession, not a depression, as if definitions or words would relieve our suffering. Well, if it's a definition he wants, I'll give him one. A recession is when your neighbor loses his job. A depression is when you lose yours. And recovery from that is when Jimmy Carter loses his. I've talked with unemployed workers all across this country. I've heard their views on what Jimmy Carter has done to them and their families. And they aren't interested in quibbling about words or definitions. They know the difference between a recession and a depression. Let Mr. Carter go to the unemployment lines and lecture those workers who've been betrayed by this administration on what is the proper definition for their widespread economic misery. Human tragedy, human misery, the crushing of the human spirit. They don't need defining, they need action. And it's action in the form of jobs, lower taxes, and an expanded economy that as president I intend to provide. Now, you know, in 1976, he said he would bring unemployment down and inflation both down to around 3%. Now, unemployment is now around 8% nationwide, but you know, that doesn't tell the whole story. That's like a fella drowning because he tried to wade across a river whose average depth was 3 feet. There are 19.5% unemployed in the city that I was in yesterday. There are 25% unemployed in Flint, Michigan. Your own percentage of unemployed in this city is greater than the national average. And when he started, inflation was only 4.8% and unemployment was only 6%. He ran on the slogan, "I'll never lie to you." You know, after hearing that about 20 times, I was reminded of the poet's line, Ralph Waldo Emerson. He said, "The louder he talked of his honor, the faster we counted our spoons." Now he's come up with his 5th new economic program. You know, he talks in presenting that as if someone else has been in charge for the last 3.5 years. Well, it won't work. It's cynical and it's political and it's too late. Now let me, if I could, take a few minutes and tell you something, some damage that may not be as obvious as what I've been talking about, but it's the damage this energy or this administration has done to the energy security, to our ability to remain free of OPEC, and to our ability to fuel the kind of economic growth that can provide decent jobs for the poor and the unemployed. Recently, I came across a speech that has as much to tell about the energy situation today. The speaker said, "Our nation must act. Neither the world economy nor the American economy can withstand a continuation of present circumstances and trends. We move boldly toward a goal of reasonable national energy self-sufficiency." So spoke candidate Jimmy Carter on July 11, 1975. But President Carter called for the moral equivalent of war and created then the Department of Energy, which is the bureaucratic equivalent of the surrender on the deck of the Missouri at the end of World War II. The world and the nation cannot withstand a continuation of current policies. He's tried to hide the reality of this increasing threat to our energy security with misleading rhetoric and incomplete facts. Last month, at the Democratic Convention, he boasted that we've reversed decades of dangerous and growing dependence on foreign oil and have a program to secure America's energy future. You know, when I read those words, I recalled when Winston Churchill in the British Parliament expressed the opinion that one of his opponent's statements was scarcely believable. And his opponent angrily demanded, "Sir, are you accusing me of lying?" And Winston said, "Not at all, but I do believe you commit terminological inexactitudes." I have to say that Mr. Carter's view on our energy situation might have more to do with his desire for re-election than it does with the facts of energy. The facts which Jimmy Carter will not admit are that America does not have an energy policy now, and we do not have a secure energy future. What we have is a future of planned cutbacks and slow growth, of lower income and few jobs, and of dangerous dependence on OPEC, far worse today than at any time in the past. It doesn't have to be this way in the future, but we have to act now. And the only way to do that is to change administrations in Washington, D.C. For 3 years and 8 months, Mr. Carter has led us to believe that there's an acute shortage of energy resources in this country. The truth is, America has an abundance of energy, but the policies of this administration consistently discourage its discovery and production. These policies have brought little but misery to the American people. Gasoline prices, which he said were disgraceful when he took office, well, they're now twice as high as they were then. We've had long gas lines and we've had the ever-present threat of another oil cutoff. Skyrocketing heating oil prices have forced many Americans on fixed incomes, especially our senior citizens, in the cold of winter to make the cruel choice between food on their tables or fuel to keep them warm in their homes. Take utilities today. The cost of heating your average home by natural gas has doubled since 1976. The oil bill for those who use oil to heat their homes has gone up 133%. And we pay for electricity an increase of 43%. And this isn't the fault of the utility companies. This is the fault of the energy policies of the Carter administration. Our entire economy, our people's jobs, and our standard of living are in jeopardy because of our crippling dependence on OPEC oil. Yet the saddest part of this Carter mess is that one of its own reports establishes beyond any doubt the fact that we can be more self-sufficient in energy. Such a report was placed on the President's desk this year. It is the Carter administration's annual report to Congress, and it deals with the energy resources of our country, prepared by his own Energy Department. This report, along with the reports from the U.S. Geological Survey, shows that on the basis of current rates of consumption, America has a proven and potential 47-year supply of oil, including oil shale, a 27-year supply of natural gas, and at least a 321-year supply of coal. And as the governor said, there are the figures, his own figures from his own departments, right there on that billboard for anyone to look at and study. They're not my figures. They're the official estimates of the Department of Energy and the U.S. Geological Survey. And let me give you a little more encouragement. both of those particular agencies happen to be extremely pessimistic and conservative anytime they estimate what we have in energy. So you could probably add comfortably more than what I have said. But those are the figures that he had to deal with, and those are the figures he's been concealing from the American people. They demonstrate that we have in America right now abundant potential energy supplies if the administration will allow Americans to find, produce, and use them. We have more than enough resources to meet our needs until the fuels of the future, such as solar power, fusion, hydrogen, tar sands, and ocean thermal energy, are converted or developed. Why hasn't he told us this? Why has he chosen to talk about how little fuel we have instead of how much? Why has he chosen to mislead Americans into believing that the only way out of the energy crisis is more federal programs? Government regulations and production barriers are two of the chief causes of the energy crisis we're already in. When Mr. Carter says we don't have enough energy at home, what he really means is his policies won't let Americans find and produce the energy at home that we need. Nowhere is this more evident than in the field of oil production and exploration. Mr. Carter's oil excise tax, which he calls a windfall profits tax, will reduce oil production in this country by more than 500,000 barrels a day by 1990. Enough oil to fuel nearly 250,000 cars. Other estimates of the production loss are more than 3 times as great, including oil equivalent. A production loss equal to more than 1/4 of our oil imports. An energy tax that reduces energy production by that much is a bad tax. Mr. Carter has burdened offshore oil drilling leases with such stringent restrictions that it's almost impossible to begin production. Think of this. Only 2% of the entire